wrap-up on the AI experts' visit to Little Rock was done by a person, 81-year-old, with Parkinson's.
The boss came into the boardroom. It was a commercial for United Airlines, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He came in the room and he goes, "Hey, we need to get back out and seeing people face to face. Our sales are slipping, our relationships are slipping," and he gave everybody airline tickets around the boardroom, basically saying human interaction is the only way to do business and communicate. So I thought it was I love the commercial back when I was I don't remember how old I was, but it impacted me, speaking about humans and how we communicate with each other. Chris Fisher.
That's what I know you.
Herb, I know your name. I've heard your name spoken by Mr. Gadberry.
What do you do? You got such a nice outfit on.
I manage part of the country for Olympus endoscopy. I'm sure you've had a colonoscopy in your life, Herb, right?
Yeah.
So it was an Olympus scope that went through your normal body orifices to check out your colon. So I manage part of the country for that. I have 10 reps that work for me from Minnesota all the way down to New Orleans. 10 states. I'm an area vice president of sales.
Okay.
So I've been in med device for 38 years.
But there's other things.
Well, AI is big in healthcare. I mean, that's the area I think where it's going to have the greatest impact on people's life. We use a lot of AI in what we do in endoscopy, and it's mainly AI's ability to visualize what it sees and identify abnormalities in the frame, in the picture, to point out to the physician, "Hey, check this out." So we use AI now, and it's huge.
I thought that was the case.
Huge, yeah. I think what's going to happen a lot, especially with nerve. I mean, Elon's company is really interesting. I can't even remember the name of it, Herb. But he has a company that reconnects nerve endings for people who've had accidents, but there's a lot of research in that area. I think AI is going to be huge in medicine, and it's going to be too late for me and you, but down the road, our grandchildren.
Okay, after a full afternoon, I think you saw some of the things I did yesterday morning, and I got this mobility device so I could ride around, take some shots. I know the audio is not really good on some of that, but I wanted to show you this question I asked about how AI is being used by small companies and also small countries to outmaneuver the big battleships like the U.S. and also other companies. Mark Cuban alluded to that when he said, it's an open game now. It's not the billion-dollar investments. It's these smaller guys, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have them here. I think they're in excellent shape to be an alternative to the deep Sikh people of Hangzhou, and I mentioned that in this little clip. And so you missed it. You had to be there.
Maybe we can get a little bit of a thing about how artificial intelligence is happening around the world. I think the old school of trying to bluff people, and even on the tariffs lately, we're finding out that a lot of people, and particularly Canada and maybe some of the other countries, maybe you're familiar with a lot of this, but they've really gotten good at AI. They know that global warming has opened up a lot of routes. And I was in the oil business one time, and I understand the oil and gas. But now you're seeing, you can't bluff them because they know that they have ways of sending out the gas through tankers all over the world, whether it's the EU or China. And I think that even the smallest countries, Mexico, all these people have figured out a way, and I have to say AI or something, that they're not being bluffed. they've got an alternative solution already in place, and I don't want it's not as much political as it is the economic aspect of it, because there are a lot of things that are happening. These smaller countries have figured out, and sometimes, and again, a company like yours are real flexible, and I've been in that boat too, can make a change and do something much faster than the guys that's they're in the battleship and you're in the PT boats. I just want to kind of get your feel for that worldwide and where you fit. And I know you're a small group, but the small group on Deep Seek over in Hangzhou, and I've been there with those engineers. They outmaneuvered a lot of people very fast. So it's kind of the world scope of what you're seeing as a small company that you now, as Mark Cuban says, it's all opened up to smaller companies now. They don't have to have billion-dollar investments to compete with AI.
I wanna be happy time. I wanna be the road. Close your eyes. Wanna leave us to save the day. No, we don't get a say on what they trade away. We dream of a brand new start, but we dream in the dark for the most part. God can't assume very happy. I've got to be in the road.
Okay, things got kicked off there with Zubair Talib as the headline speaker, and then we got into some things there. But the day before, Pablo Abdian had met with Jay Gadberry and Jay Chesser at the Chamber building. So a lot of things were going on in advance as far as getting this thing kicked off. So it was nice that we had that meeting. And then later on, we went to Yaya's. So at Yaya, we had, we could see there Jerry Damoreau and Jay Gadberry and my son, Craig Lair. And the rest of the group there, you can see I'm over there emulating Elon Musk. So you can see some additional planning going on Tuesday morning. You see there Pablo and Zubair and also Marla Johnson. Here's a picture of Pablo and his wife Nora when they lived in Washington, D.C. for a couple of 3 years. And then again, you can get back to the credentials of Zubair and his MIT background and a little bit of the history there of on the LinkedIn invite that he had sent out, and you can see a little bit more information, and then a little more information on Marla Johnson and what she's doing there at UA Little Rock. And here is our great friend Jay, and here we go back and give a little bit more information on Pablo. And then this was back in the days, but I've gotten this from David Pogue, CBS News.
It's starting to get old under your gold. It's all gray. Tiptoe, always something round the corner. Yes, no, never get a solid answer. Small mind, long nose, I won't be your tiny dancer. All your funny mirrors and all your smoke-filled rooms. I want the truth. I want the truth. Give me the truth. You can't have your cake and eat it too. What are you trying to hide? Where's your alibi? Bye. All of your spiderweb lies. I see.
Okay, I'm channeling my Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. You know, they always had to do a demo of something when they were doing a presentation. And I just got this zero-turn little wheelchair. It's amazing. I took it there and took some pictures of the videos, and that's part of my videos. And here's some clips of the 1990s and on what I did there. And then here's a building, high-tech, where we did our presentations. And here we go.
How fast I can turn around, how fast I can go down this light over here, what we're turning some lights on over here. Can you turn up? So, the lights over here, okay. Let's go on down here, I can go here. I can go here and look out the back. As you can see, the speed's pretty good. I want to go here and live here and sit for this. I can either move over to a chair or I can just kind of manipulate around. It's really good. It's 37 pounds, but what it gives you is when you have a wound on your heel, they want you to be sitting there, and if you put a boot on, it doesn't really protect your heel. And this one I can be like in a wheelchair, but I can guide myself. This device being 37 pounds, I can take it out and take it to places that just go in and out of places, stay in a place and do business or everything. But I don't have to worry about having to walk behind a walker or a cane. And you have to have pressure off your heel in order for it to heal. I can show you that the wound is not good, it's deep, and it's to the bone, so it's not something you're going to heal. You know. So I think it's going to be something that people want to try. I mean, it's a thing that, it's out there that, they've kind of cut the price on it, so.
Okay, I see a lot of motor wheelchairs, but I never heard one of that kind of does talking about.
Well, the thing is the lightweight, and also the fact that you can use it in-house. I've got ones that I can run around the block in.
Okay.
So it's about 50 plus pounds, but this one is like if I were to go to a place, take it out and go into an office or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't damage the heel. That heel, like you say, if you don't stay off of it, and then you can't already stay off of it. So,
yeah.
And so it's kind of like, what do you do? And so I don't know. This thing may be what people really want to try to start using.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Chinese thing, but it's just come out, and so I think from that standpoint, I just kind of want to do that. I know you're doing your job, and we're going to do the vacuum to tease it out. So we're doing all kinds of technology, I guess.
I think that's wonderful.
So we kind of get stuff in at times, and then we'll see what this is if it amounts to anything.
UA Little Rock hosts Argentinian experts for Tech Innovation event. Come on down. Invite to our AI event today at UA Little Rock. You might see a few surprises. I even will bring my mobile device when you have to be off one of your foot when you have a wound in the heel. This is an ideal device, 37 pound, very maneuverable, indoor. I would not take it very far outdoor. I've got a larger one for that. But this is just out, very, very new, and it's artificial intelligence at its best, and it was obviously created in China.
That's the best use case for treating this way. But I think generally it's an interesting use case you bring up. I think for conversions, there's an increasing amount of thoughts on how can you automate those analyst activities that you say, I need to analyze this business process, I need to re-engineer the process, I need to merge two of them together, I need to map them, I need to ensure that the quality of the outcome is the same after it's done. So I think these are all great AI-enabled activities. I think treating is one part of that equation, but I think all of these can benefit from that kind of. So we're seeing some private equity use cases where they're trying to see if they can drive efficiencies from those kind of things. We've seen some, at least anecdotally, some of those kind of cases.
I'm ready to get a solution.
Okay.
I've seen so many projects, and so many things come to mind in our industry that we couldn't tackle. So I'm just curious, what was the biggest surprise for you of a project that was like, okay, I have no hope for this project, and it just surprised you? You probably can't use the name of the company. And then what was the biggest flop that you were like, I thought for sure this would be a no-brainer, and then it just became much more complicated real life applications help me process.
I can tell you some. Let me think. I'm trying to think of the biggest, but I'll tell you something that went really well. Like I think we did this translation project, and we knew that the translation between documents is not perfect yet. What we found though was the ability to do from one language to another language, and then learn the variations of what the human translators would correct. So that loop worked increasingly well. So I think, again, you take a translation of a large language model and it'll translate it, but will it use the language that your industry or corporation or thing uses? But what we found is when we would close that loop, we'd say, okay, well, look, you had translated this way, we'd like to translate it this other way. And to remember that and then do that again. So that sort of system in conjecture was quite simple, but it was very effective in practice, actually. So I think that was, I don't know if it was maybe a surprise, but I think it was a good success. And I think, because we weren't clear on whether there'd be any value in just doing the translation, because it's not yet as good as a human translator. But this closed loop provided a great a way to increase the quality of that system. In terms of failure, let's see what areas are difficult. I think maybe I'll challenge you to say voice assistants are still not yet at that closed loop point. And it's just an incredibly long tail of problems that exist. So each one is getting better and better, but I think the advancements in voice are just not there yet. So I think one of the architecture I mentioned, speech recognition to language understanding to text-to-speech, while technically it does work, it misses many things right now in translating voice, right? Like when we use emphasis or sarcasm or emotion, or all of those parts are currently missed in the typical stack, and there is an evolution of technology that's taking place right now that does try to pick up those speech signals and use that. So I think in voice we see increasing progress in voice assistants, just not yet there to the level that I think we can say this is a fully automated solution. So I'd say that's one that is sort of like just always around the corner, at least from my perspective.
I asked a question around how are you making sure that when I'm using this large language model of OpenAI or others, you are not actually training or giving data to them. And one of the answers was we have signed a contract. That's not enough. So if that is the case, what are you doing over and above this contractual agreement with OpenAI, Microsoft, or other companies, where you are ensuring that the data is not really used to train or they will store the data, so on and so forth, from privacy and compliance standpoint?
Drive or OneDrive, they sit with Microsoft and Google. I hope you're not too worried that they're using those for their private information. If you use gmail.com, you can expect that they are mining your email to give you ads. That's the exchange you make for that free Gmail. And I think free ChatGPT is the same. So the expectation is that the license should protect you in those ways. Now, if you don't trust fundamentally those organizations, then we can talk about that. But fundamentally, the expectation is, once your data is in the cloud, that provider could use that data theoretically, technically, right? Legally, they cannot. Is the idea. So I think that exchange of value is still the same, and the licenses should protect you amongst those things. In the cases where, like I mentioned, even around the healthcare, if they're so concerned around this, then the best things we found are we're doing those at the edge. So that is a dedicated physical device that is not connected to a cloud provider, and we're running language models on those devices. So it's literally your own device in your office or something like this that can run something like that. So that's an extreme case, I think, that's very protective, and I think that works well. And I think NVIDIA is definitely expecting that use case is going to grow. I think in January when the CEO spoke, he announced a device called Digits, which is a $3,000 device, but that is supposed to be able to run larger language models. The current models cannot run those. So I'd say that's the exchange. So for us, when we do work with customers, the OpenAI, the Anthropic, and the different API providers say when you use their API, they provide a license that says they're not using it for training. And typically, if the customer is okay with that license, then we're okay with that license. If the customer has some broader issue, then we do this. But I think, at least from my understanding, it's not very dissimilar from the cloud storage issues, right? If you're dealing with the cloud or you're using AWS or something like this, you generally expect them to adhere to that. So I feel comfortable, generally speaking. I think from a legal perspective, it's there. But yes, if you have extreme, high degree of concern, this is the best way to maybe to move it to your own device, things like this. There are other providers too, like Grok, that are not using for training. They're just providing inference, like GROQ, not GROK. So they are a provider of language processing units, LPUs, like GPUs, and they run models on their infrastructure, but they're not in the business of training models. So you could maybe feel better that they're not going to use your data because they have no business of training, if that helps.
Also about educational institutions and AI, can you give us some advice?
I think it was just yesterday, today, OpenAI, announced that they're partnering with 16 educational institutions to try to build certification for AI, use of AI tools in the educational setting. And I think, of course, there's huge promise and expectation. There was a very nice Harvard Business Review article where they tried to describe AI from this analogy of sports. It said that you think of AI like a coach or sneakers or steroids. You see this analogy? It basically says, if you think of it like steroids, it means it's doing the job for you, and you're not getting any better for it. Sneakers is something that makes you better at what you do, and a coach is someone that makes you fundamentally better in those ways. And they say if you can use AI like a coach to teach you in an instructive way that helps you develop your own skills rather than supplanting your skills. There was a recent study that came out that said that, I don't know if it was a consultant or where it was, but folks who use AI increasingly, they end up turning off some of their cognitive capabilities in those ways. And so they found that the work product was actually worse than those who didn't, even though it was maybe more efficient. So obviously there's a balance of the two, using them to make your work faster is really important, but not turning off your cognitive skills. So I think anyways, that balance with education is really taking place. You guys know better than I would. But I think there's lots of developments taking place between academia and industry that I've seen in this regard.
And also about your company.
Well, this is a long story, and this guy that was talking about me is one of the reasons why I'm here. No, I was graduated in engineering 35 years ago, and I started working in technology when I met her. And the evolution makes me more. I said that I used to be an engineer because I was more focused in businesses than
Pablo was a 31-year-old Latin lover.
And I met his super dad many years ago as well. And this guy is very humble because what he didn't say that this technology that he didn't like is, I was talking with Maula yesterday, there's a book called AI Superpowers. I don't know if any of you read this book, no? And one of the interesting things in this book is how AI will impact society. No? And one of the parts of the book talks about let me go a little back. I read many books in my life. One that really blew my mind, concerning teach soft knowledge instead of hard knowledge. No? I know that is for kids it's harder to learn mathematics or physics, but the kids that have this knowledge will make a difference in the future. I really believe that making kids learn will make that difference. And perhaps when they come here to the university, it's too late to teach this kind of thing. No? But I was born in Buenos Aires, and now I moved to a city in Argentina called Bariloche. It's in the Patagonia, it's deep south. But why I moved there? Besides that, it's a very safe place in case of Russia and Ukraine makes any mess. No? The truth is that in Bariloche, in Latin America, there's just one university of physics and nuclear engineering, and it's in the town where I live. Which means that the gray matter that is in that area is huge, is amazing. So we are trying to build knowledge, and we are trying to grab all these people that live there, to be used as people that work for us. And again, perhaps it's good if you read that book, no? I mean, it's the vision that they have about how the knowledge will grow. I mean, we are in the 5th or 6th industrial revolution age, no? And I really believe that this is the revolution of technology.
Maybe I can add one thing to that. I think even today we see some glimpse of maybe how this is when we see engineers who went through the boot camps and didn't have computer science training. And we see that they have a surface level knowledge. This look, no one can predict exactly how these AI tools work. At least as a ask, but how do you make a system level understanding? The other are the inspired guests, and I think that they create intuition. So I think the case to be made for understanding the hard sciences, even if you think that knowledge is there, is that you can't do the system level understanding. Maybe you can't make those inspired guesses. And then I think that the third is which questions to ask. So if you can build software much more easily, what software would you now build? So I think we expect there'll be much more software, much more AI. If you think there's many problems in the world that are not yet fit. So if intelligence becomes cheaper and easier, what would you do with it, right? If I could have an AI in my glasses that watches everything I eat and told me I should be eating that, I should be eating this, maybe that'd be helpful for me. So there's lots of things that are in the company. So at least these 3 things I think are, at least for the current, seem to be important, and I think it's going to be that rate of change that I think is the hard part, right? That thinking you can move at a rate of change and how do we keep up. But at least fundamentally, I think those things still matter.
So Jonathan was just laughing because I sat down with him at CBI Construction, his company, and he told me that he read this book years ago and that it had a big impact on him. And while we were talking, I ordered this book, which is why I have it. So, yeah. Anybody else have a question they want to jump in on now?
Recap some of this earlier, I didn't quite grasp. It had to do with the development cost, and there was a 25 or 15, 20, and then there was the 50. The 50 part, I just didn't catch. And if you could run through that one more time, I'd appreciate that.
Using AI, some solution to improve their process, no? Or government organizations, the companies that want to implement AI for any reason. So I think that the implementation of AI, the real help is to improve processes, reduce cost across the companies. And what we saw is that how the people is adapted to this new technology, okay, is really difficult. And in many cases, the companies need to readapt or relocate these people to new tasks. No? We have a client in Chile, is the financial commission or agency, whatever, okay, that is like the entity in charge of receive all the claims from the people with regards to banks and financial institutions. No? So we build a technology for them in order to reduce the process of the claiming. It took like 15 days internally to detect when they receive a claim by phone or by email or by the website of the company to understand where or who is the claiming going to. No, it's let's say I don't know the Bank of America, the area of loans of the branch in Little Rock. No? So it took 15 days till these guys understand and send the formal claiming to that bank or to that financial institution. So we built a technology that in seconds, no, we receive the the digitalization of the phone call or the email or wherever, the system understand exactly, we extract the data and we understand what's going on, who is directed to. We have a workflow where we understand who is the person and it was sent. So the challenge that this agency of the government had is what to do with the 100 people that they have that now they are using just to, how to relocate all these people, okay, and how to, in order to do not fire them, how they manage all that situation. So that's what we see in general when we work with companies that want to implement AI. No? I mean, this is the biggest impact for us, okay? Because many people think that, okay, I will build this technology and it will cost me $200,000, $500,000, and it's a lot of money. Yeah, but there are hidden costs that are not considered at the moment to implement AI. Okay.
Or other countries like Dubai, who are maybe going to marry us because their investments are so much larger.
Good question. I'm biased, right? I think the U.S. is investing quite heavily in AI. Right? I'm not sure there's any country that is investing that. China is also investing substantially, but I think still so much of the research talent still is here. Although I would say that, increasing amount of research talent is emerging in China. I was just reading a paper the other day, it was on voice AI, and I noticed that they make references, in the papers to the authors. It's like, that looks like, you see 3 or 4 in a row and you start to see a pattern. I looked at the back and every author was a Chinese author. So you do see glimpses of that change taking place. But even, a number of the authors who are Chinese are in the U.S. as well. So I think, at least from what we've seen, companies there is a range of companies within the U.S. Some who are investing heavily, some who are investing not so heavily. But everyone's experimenting now. I think almost every company is experimenting in some capacity. Some are just more aggressive than others. But I think the U.S. is aggressive in this regard.
And I honestly think that the U.S. is a leader now in this. Someone talked about the data protection, and with all the things that are happening now in Europe, things that they may be more independent. It's very hard to work in Europe with AI because we have a client here that I had to sign a lot of documents and compliances with the federal government, wherever, about the data protection. In Europe, it's impossible. It's almost impossible. So I really believe that now the race is China and US. So investing in AI here is one of the most important things in this race.
Well, the Middle East is putting a lot of money as well, but partnering, it seems, with US and or China. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. And we see that here at our university because we're board administrative.
Yeah.
We have people from all of these countries who work here and who are part of our university, their faculty, their students, and it's hard for us to kind of grasp a little bit, kind of the competition, especially like with China.
China had an incentive program to bring back researchers who had studied in the U.S. back to China. They've been very aggressively trying to establish that. And I think, the DeepSeek was an interesting example of that. The emerging, but a tremendous amount of research is taking place in China.
So was there a attempt to bring back those people to China successful? Were they?
So I think, still somewhat, right? Not 100%, right? Thankfully, the U.S. is still an attractive place to do that kind of work, right? But yes, I think it was somewhat successful. And there's a push to bring back, and there's a lot of opportunities in there.
Maybe we can get a little bit of a thing about how artificial intelligence is happening around the world. I think the old school of trying to bluff people, and even on the tariffs lately, we're finding out that a lot of people, and particularly Canada and maybe some of the other countries that maybe are familiar with a lot of this, but they've really gotten good at AI. They know that global warming has opened up a lot of routes. And I was in the oil business one time, and I understand the oil and gas. But now you're seeing, you can't bluff them because they know that they have ways of sending out the gas through tankers all over the world, whether it's the EU or China. And I think that even the smallest countries, Mexico, all these people have figured out a way, and I have to say AI or something, that they're not being bluffed. They've got an alternative solution already in place, and I don't want, it's not as much political as it is the economic aspect of it, because there are a lot of things that are happening these smaller countries have figured out, and sometimes, and again, a company like yours are real flexible, and I've been in that boat too, can make a change and do something much faster than the guys that's they're in the battleship and you're in the PT boats. I just want to kind of get your feel for that worldwide and where you fit. And I know you're a small group, but the small group on Deep Seek over in Hangzhou, and I've been there with those engineers. They outmaneuvered a lot of people very fast. So it's kind of the world scope of what you're seeing as a small company that you now, as Mark Cuban says, it's all opened up to smaller companies now. They don't have to have billion-dollar investments to compete with AI.
But there are solutions that don't require much time to be built and don't require too much money. I have 300,000 people. The government decided to change the way that the people reports, the companies reports to the local area. So they need to change all the system. They need to make a huge investment. So they give the problem. So we built like an AI translator that can understand all the data that these guys has in different systems, from SAP to all the different branches of technology that you can imagine, and translate this data the model of data that the government requires to report. So it was a 6 months process. It was not really difficult. And people were surprised about that. But, I mean, it was not much money, and it was pretty fast. Implementing AI doesn't mean that you need to invest $100,000. How many times is the solution is very simple, and I think that this is what we really do best.
Yeah, I think you're right, because as outsized returns right now, you're looking at some of these generalized tools. So I think the key thing becomes domain knowledge in your area and the desire to want to try something and experiment and keep sort of experimenting with the use of these different applications. So give us more demos.
We work with VC-backed companies, companies that a guy sold one business plan, it was approved, they got the money, and now what? How we really build what I promised I have to build.
She's asking, would you have invested in that company?
Which company?
No, I'm just joking. She's asking, what would you recommend to invest in?
To invest?
Yeah.
Ah, sorry.
But so they hired you to develop their product, and they have money.
I mean, I think the foundation of business is right. There's an expectation, like Anthropic raised $3.5 billion yesterday, right? More. There's an expectation that maybe a winner takes all in some of those type of businesses, right? I mean, that's big game investing, clearly. It's a tough space right now because the durable advantages are not clear from the application space. So I'd say it's tricky from if you're betting in the winner takes all space, that's one thing. If you're betting in applications, it's a little harder because it's not clear what the durable advantages are. But yeah, I think my guess is the same way that we looked at SaaS to some extent. If you think of the classic, if you have a network effect or if some domain expertise expertise or some cost of economies of scale costs, then maybe those could be different. But the application space right now seems like a foot race because there's not huge and durable advantages for many of these businesses that are building with other models, but maybe there's domain expertise or other things that are useful. So the landscape is quite complicated right now. I think as an investor, it may be a very good opportunity, but it's not easy. And so I'd say that either, if you see an opportunity where there's strong domain knowledge and maybe leveraging AI, those might be the best ones.
I think it's a moment to wait and see. When ChatGPT appears, everybody went running behind ChatGPT. Then 6 months later, that has more unicorns is Argentina. And I really believe that, and what I think that is something successful in my life, in my relationship with Sugar and building the company is the cultural approach that exists between Argentina and US. No? I mean, Argentina has the most highest rate of immigrants in Latin America. I was reading the newspaper the other day, an article that said that, I don't remember exactly the year, but between 1890 and 1920, there were like 3.5 million for Italian, just Italian immigrants. In my case, I'm Italian because of my mother. So from my father's side, I grandchild of Armenian immigrants, and from my mother's side, from Italian. So I think that this cultural alignment is very important besides the time zone, okay? And the commitment to the world. Perhaps Sugar can tell you better, but we have a challenge. We don't stop till we have this issue fixed. We have people that work for 20 hours till they call me and say, hey, I solved it. So I think that this is something interesting, is the commitment that our people has. And I think that here in the university, as mentors of the people, one of the main challenges that you have is how to awake this instinct in the people that when they are challenged, they don't stop till they solve it. I think that this is one of the main assets that we have in our country. And I think that this is a really big differentiator in the society in general, and in particular in this university.
As a non-Argentinian, I can reflect that. First of all, to be clear, there's great talent everywhere in the world. I don't think there's a monopoly on talent in any one country. I think I happen to have found great people in Argentina. And the time zone, I think, is super friendly, I think, to be working with the U.S. I fully agree. There tends to be this entrepreneurial spirit that we've been able to tap into the people that we have. I think your question was about what lessons can we learn for here, correct? Right? Yeah, so I think, personally, I think the things that you guys are doing here probably seem like the right thing, right? The confluence of academia, business, and investors is really that confluence. And I think that had started to emerge in Argentina, right? That the strong academic institutions working with industry leaders and past entrepreneurs, and then with mentors and investors and capital can start to build the seeds of that. So I think maybe this is sort of what we've seen from Pablo mentioned on the unicorns in Argentina. As they've had more successful entrepreneurs and then more successful institutions, they've been able to spawn more and more entrepreneurs that way. Maybe that's a similar.
Yeah, and also having people like you that are serial entrepreneur, and transmitting this to the people, to the kids, to the students is one of the main things. Is teach them to learn or to think out of the box. That I think that is the way that the entrepreneurs we do. Think out of the box. And this is, I think that you have a very important task here. Try to transmit this.
So I've always seen myself as a creative and not as a business person. So it kind of shows. But I do think that, combining creativity and business is how you do cool things.
Anything.
Yeah, I was going to get back to the, I know you were a graduate of MIT, and one of the things that you looked at the time was driverless cars. I know I took my daughter who has disabilities, we went out to Phoenix last year, and we tried that out, and there were some good things and bad things about that. But what I'm getting to there is, there's an area there that's kind of exploding, and I was kind of trying to get your take on, how soon something like that would come to a place like Little Rock. I know San Francisco, LA, all those places are big time on this, and I see that happening, and we got a lot of people. I get to the fact that we have people here in certain situations that need transportation and affordable transportation and transportation that can take them from home to another place, and so there's some things I really like about that, and I know you know some of the positives and negatives since that's part of your undergraduate was to do some work on that. So you might comment on your thoughts as you remember them, and maybe you're out in California, so you may be still using or working with it. Thanks.
Tough questions. I don't think we're entrepreneur ecosystem experts, but I think if I understand the question, what will make those type of opportunities, entrepreneurial opportunities, to come here to Little Rock? Is that the gist of the question? Or is that the gist of the question? Yeah. All right. I do think the approach that you're taking with regards to AI as a superpower to enable businesses, sort of focusing business problem backwards, and what can you now do with AI to do that, not just faster and better, but what are those new opportunities that can be unlocked? So I'd say, if the ecosystems like San Francisco, they have just a tremendous amount of capital and talent already there, right? So here, I think where there's business problems that are interesting is a great place to focus, right? So we've got, I understand there's a rich healthcare system here. Of course, we've got, I understand many interesting corporations up northwest of here, and and those type of business problems that lend themselves very well, I think, to where AI can be involved, and maybe incubating, bringing those partners with their problems to a place like this can be convening, and then bringing entrepreneurs together, maybe some seed capital to see where things can be spawned. So that could be a possibility of how to do that. I think it's success begins with success, right? So then seeing a couple of those can maybe jury and so forth.
Yeah, I think that incubating and be open to understand what the people is trying to build. Let me give you an example that really touched me. There's a company called Skylum. This company was born in one university in the place where I live, in this University of Physics. So a couple kids had the idea to transmit data using lasers. Today, if you download data from a satellite, it's a radio signal. But the bandwidth of the laser is much bigger. So these kids start with this idea, and they went to a very big institute, and nobody paid attention to them. So they came here to US, they start talking with VCs, okay? And now Skylum deploy, I don't know how many of this technology around the world. They had a huge contract with the DoD here in US. And I was talking to people that was in that incubator, and they said, I can't believe how we were so stupid to do not pay attention to these kids. So yes, you were really a stupid guy. So if the incubator and the VCs there were be so smart or such and smart guys, they should have the vision to understand what these kids are trying to do. So if these people had a local environment where they can move forward and start building the solution, they will be very successful in our country, not here. So I think that this is one of the key points, here in particular, is have an incubator and have people that is smart enough not just from the technical point, not also from the business standpoint, to understand what the guys or what the kids, because I really believe that there should be a lot of smart kids here, is to hear these people, have the ability to let them talk and support them.
And Herb, in terms of transportation, one of our fellow Arkansas Academy of Computing members.
I do think the approach that you're taking with regards to AI as a superpower to enable businesses and sort of focusing business problem backwards and what can be done to create AI to do that, not just faster and better, but what are the new opportunities we got. So I'd say, if the ecosystems like San Francisco, they have this tremendous amount of capital and talent already there, right? So here, I think where there's business problems that are interesting and very business focused, right? So we've got, I understand there's a healthcare system here. Of course, we've got, I understand many interesting corporations up on Northwestern here. And those type of business problems that lend themselves very well, I think, to, where AI can be involved. And maybe incubating, bringing those partners with their problems to a place like this to be convened, and then bringing entrepreneurs together, maybe see capital, see where things can respond. So that could be a possibility of how to do that. I think, it's success begins at success, right? So I've been seeing a couple of those in the regular journeys.
Yeah, I think that is great, and be open to understand what the people is trying to be. Let me give you an example of that really touching. There's a company called Skype. This company was born in one university in the place where I live, in this University of Physics. So a couple of kids had the idea to transmit data using lasers. Today, if you download data from a satellite, it's a radio signal. But the bandwidth of the laser is much bigger. So these kids started this idea, and they went to a Berkeley Institute, and nobody paid attention to them. So they came here to the US, they start talking with VCs. Okay? And now Skype deploy, I don't know how many of this technology around the world. They had a huge contract with the DoD here in the US. And I was talking to people that was in that incubator, they said, I can't believe how we were so stupid to not pay attention to these kids. So yes, you were really a stupid guy. So if the incubator and the VCs there were these so smart or such and smart guys, they should have the vision to understand what these kids are trying to do. So if these people have a local environment where they can move forward and start building the solution, they will be very successful in our country. So I think that this is one of the key here in particular, is have an incubator and have people that is smart enough, not just from the technical point, not also from the business standpoint, to understand what the guys or what the kids, because I really believe that there should be a lot of smart kids here, is to hear them, to have the ability to let them talk and support them.
And Herb, in terms of transportation, one of our fellow Arkansas Academy of Computing members said the roads should be moving, not the vehicles on it. So I thought that was an interesting idea, out of the box.
Event and potential venue for AI application. They have these horrible things called podcasts, and there's one called Short History of. I listened to one on Stonehenge recently. As I was listening to that, what it dawned on me was that there were a lot of monoliths around, but what made Stonehenge different was that they were shaped stones. And what was curious about it, or interesting to me, is that it starts off with a 12-year-old boy who's with his mom, and they're making cheese. And they're going to go deliver the cheese to the craftsmen that are working shapers that are shaping these stones. And so I was thinking about it, and I said, well, hold on a second. I guess it's an island, and it's several, thousands of years ago, so it's a fairly safe place. So we have safety. There was obviously shelter, and there was obviously plenty of food because their hands, the available labor force, was shaping stones. And so that kind of led me to think about where we're headed with AI. That says, okay, so, we have shelter, we have food, we have clothing, and we have free time. And so what's the next stone shapers? And is there a place in AI to go invest and shape that future versus just business, not just business, but business applications and efficiency?
Still working 12, 14 hours a day. No? So, because it's my mindset. No? So, and my wife also claiming to me, why are you still on the computer? No? But it depends. I mean, I don't think it will make us more free time or not. And at the end, it depends on each of us.
I do think that education itself is a great frontier, obviously, for artificial intelligence. And several of the professors on campus are reading this book called Teaching with AI. And there's a companion to it that's Learning with AI. Both really good books. So there's also just our attitude towards machines and how we relate to machines in general. And there's a couple of good books about that. And one is How to Speak Machine. And it's really understanding how computers work and understanding then how we can work with computers, to create a better world and to not destroy it. And a new book that I haven't started yet called Co-Intelligence. And it's
that's a good book.
So it's another book about living and working with AI. Yeah, and I think that these I know they're books, and so you might think they're outdated already, but but they really have interesting points of view and give some really great examples of
No, I didn't. It didn't work. I turned it on and the problem with the screen, which nobody's going to use it anyway.
Hace que la IA interprete la data, pero superpase eso.
Let me put this